Did you know that this princess possibly suffered the worst case of incest in royal history? Early life. Marie-Louise Élisabeth of Orléans was born on August 20th, 1695, at Versailles. She was the daughter of Philippe II, Duke of Orléans, and his wife, Françoise Marie de Bourbon. Yes, her parents were related. Philippe was the son of Louis XV's brother, while Françoise was the daughter of Louis XV with Madame de Montespan, making them cousins. When Louise was 6, she caught a near-fatal illness, and her father nursed her himself to save her. It was around this time the whispers of incest started to circulate. Nevertheless, she eventually recovered, which not many people were expecting. When she was 10 years old, Louise caught smallpox and, according to her grandmother, her father took over her care, banning anyone else from her bedchamber. Marriage and motherhood. After almost dying twice, Louise was somehow still alive, so she was married off to Charles, the Duke of Berry. She was just 12, while he was a decade older than her. Charles's father and Louise's mother were half-siblings, so yes, Louise and Charles were cousins. Louise's other cousin, Marie-Anne de Bourbon, was made her lady-in-waiting. One night, Marie-Anne and Louise once had dinner with the Duchess of Burgundy, Louise's father, and a few other important nobles. At that dinner, Louise got so drunk that she had to be carried back to Versailles. Marie-Anne did her best to hide this from the king, and she was successful. Eventually, though, Marie-Anne resigned because Louise never stopped doing stuff like this. In 1711, Louise gave birth to her first child, a daughter, at the Château de Fontainebleau. Their daughter only lived for 2 days. In 1713, Louise gave birth to another child, a son, whom she named Charles. He was given the title Duke of Alençon, and everyone must have been hoping that the new Duke of Alençon would live long enough to inherit his father's title and become Duke of Berry. He didn't. A few months later, after attacks of convulsions, Louise's son died. Later in the year of Louise's son's death, rumours reached her that her husband had taken a mistress and that his mistress was one of her servants. She retaliated with a very public affair of her own, just to humiliate her husband. When Louise's husband found out, he threatened to send her to a convent, and she in return planned to flee France with her lover. However, her plans were interrupted by her husband's unexpected death. She was pregnant when her husband died, and because everyone knew Louise had taken a lover, it was uncertain who the father of Louise's third child was. She later gave birth to a daughter at Versailles. The child only lived for a day. Shortly after her husband's death, Louis XIV, her grandfather, died, which made Louise's father the regent, since the new king, Louis XV, was still a minor. But ever the merry widow, she gambled and drank and partied to excess. Again, whispers, now becoming louder, began to swirl of the incestuous relationship with her father, now King of France. Servants' reports of her father being the only one permitted to her bedchambers, and was seen entering at nights and exiting early mornings. A little while later, Louise unexpectedly just confined herself in her palace. She said it was because she had a violent cold, but in reality, it was because she was pregnant again. When Louise received Peter the Great at the Luxembourg Palace a year later, the tabloids said that she looked stout as a tower, meaning that she was pregnant yet again. The tabloids would never let Louise catch a break. And by 1717, Louise was pregnant yet again. Voltaire was actually detained for ridiculing the princess's constant state of pregnancy. There was even a song that came up in Christmas of 1717, accusing her of having an affair with her father, the regent, that went, "Very big with child, the fruitful berry, said in a humble posture, very sorry at heart. Lord, I will no longer have such lusty ways. I only want rions, sometimes my dad, here and there my guards." Voltaire didn't learn from his mistakes, though, so guess what he did? He wrote a play called Oedipus, which was inspired by the rumours that Louise's father was the father of her child. Louise went to the play with her father on literally opening night, and they even congratulated Voltaire after the show. Maybe they had no idea that the crowd was probably cackling at them for the whole performance, or they were just trying to say, "Screw you, I'll do whatever I want," to everyone else. Louise kept partying, however, and kept getting pregnant. She gave birth to a daughter, who may have survived to adulthood and became a nun. That would have made this daughter Louise's only child, that survived to adulthood. While pregnant in 1719 yet again, Louise attended another performance of Oedipus. A scene in the play referenced the rumor, possibly true, that her child's father was her own father. The audience applauded this scene, humiliating Louise, who fainted. The crowd was eager to witness a scandal and expressed disappointment when Louise recovered and the performance continued. Louise had a miscarriage in May of that year, marking her 6th pregnancy loss. However, she soon became pregnant again, conceiving in early July. This timeline raises questions about the paternity of the child, as Louise was away at her father's palace during this time. Historian Michel Vernier suggests that Louise conceived during orgies held at her father's palace, with the regent and his daughter actively participating, especially with each other. This incestuous relationship further supports the theory of Louise's child's paternity. After giving birth in April, Louise was gravely ill. Despite her condition, she insisted on hosting a feast for her father's birthday, who at the time was angry with her. By July, Louise was again near death. Contemplating the potential consequences of her lifelong ways and the tumultuous circumstances surrounding her life, she called for her father to sit by her bedside. Louise Élisabeth died on July 21, 1719, at the age of 23. An autopsy revealed that Louise was pregnant for the 8th time. Her father held her and wept.